From Brennan Sorsby transferring out of Cincinnati and probably to Texas Tech, to Notre Dame dodging BYU in the bowl game, and Colorado's future with Deion Sanders, this is a massive week in the Big 12, and this is the Dose Grande Squad.
You're talking ball with the Big 12 squad. From Oklahoma State to Utah, from Kansas State to BYU, from Houston to Texas Tech, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming Big 12 weekend. Buckle up, it's the Big 12 squad, and we have a seat for you. No hurt feelings and thin skin allowed. Squad up, you're part of the Big 12 squad.
Happy Thursday night, everybody. Welcome into the Big 12 squad. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Jake Hatch of Locked On BYU Cougars, Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs, and he showed up 4 minutes late to the show, but I guess we'll let him in. It's JT Westercell of Locked On Utes. I thought we had a show without him, but the show wouldn't be the same if you hit subscribe. We all get to keep our jobs. Insane week in the Big 12 this week. Hatch, we will start with you. JT, I'm very excited to talk Kyle Whittingham, who snip, snap, didn't want to retire, then wanted to retire, then didn't want to retire, and now he could be coaching at Michigan. Borba, the future of Deion Sanders is a huge storyline of what the Buffs do in the transfer portal. But Hatch, Notre Dame ducks BYU, and now the Cougars, I watched, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. Kalani Sitake lowering a Pop-Tart into a trophy for an 11-win team that thought it was going to the college football playoff, and now he's lowering Pop-Tarts into a trophy. How are the vibes in BYU land?
Up and down. I think the team is motivated to finish the season the right way, Drake, but it's the second straight year that they have finished in a bowl game that they think is beneath their status relative to what they accomplished this season. So I am interested to see how they ultimately play when they take the field down there in Orlando. But yeah, the vibes with the fan base are not very high because they obviously feel like they should have been in a better position when it came to the college football playoff.
What's your message to Notre Dame, who ducked you and they are cowards?
Yeah, exactly that. You're cowards. You guys need to stop acting like it's beneath you to play in a bowl game. This is a program that gave us Rudy, and as one of our former columnists here at the Salt Lake Tribune, Steve Loom, tweeted out, they are for a program that gave us the underdog story, the gritty, never say die Rudy story. They up and quit. That's pretty pathetic on their part.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, that's the Notre Dame thing, though. When things get hard or things don't go their way, like they hate Rudy, right? Joe Montana's always talking smack about Rudy, how it's like we hate him, and it's like all this, like why? Just do something good.
Rudy's a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Jen. So he's now a Mormon. So there we go.
Yes. There you go. The religious transfer portal? No.
It is kind of funny, too, with this whole Notre Dame thing because they act like, we got our NBC deal. We're such a big-time product. Like, they only played, I think, in one of the 20 most high-profile games this season. So their brand is totally diminishing. And once again, this is another bad look by them just to be whining and crying everywhere about how badly they got screwed and being so mad. They're like, nope, we're just going to go home. Like, not even go out there and prove how good we are if you were to beat a BYU team that, once again, was right on the cusp of getting in, too. So it is a bad look for them. I understand people have their feelings about bowl games, but it's unfortunate. But I know you, Drake, you didn't like the video of Sitake and Brett Key. I kind of like their little back and forth. I think this is still going to be a fun bowl.
It was fun, and BYU is making the most of this. It's also really sad. Like the BYU should be preparing to go on the road for a college football playoff game. Better strength of record, better strength of schedule, more wins than Miami.
Got blown out twice. Sorry, that just came up. That got stuck in my
against the number 14. Which, if you've listened, those who've listened to Locked On Big 12 would know that like Alabama beating Ohio State 44-21 in the national championship. Ohio State had won a playoff game. It was still a blowout, and Ohio State's probably the second best team in the country that year. BYU could very well be the 8th best team in America and still get blown out by number 4. We've seen it at the top of college football year in and year out. It doesn't mean they didn't deserve a chance. I think they did. Miami got in, and we could beat that dead horse for weeks, and surely we will this offseason. JT, sitting behind me is an 85-inch TV. And yes, I'm in my childhood bedroom back in my hometown. I walk in, I said, Dad, I've got to record. You can't just have this 85-inch TV with a beach towel over it sitting behind my setup. And he was like, well, if you don't like that, you're really going to hate the second 85-inch TV that is right behind it. There are 2 of them behind me. And if you're wondering why It's because there was a sale at Sam's on 85-inch TVs. So my grandma calls my dad and said, I got you one. And he shows up at Sam's to pick it up. The guy at Sam's says, you want a second one? They say, of course not. Why would we need two? And he says, I'll give it to you for $300. It's a display. So like, that's how we have two 85-inch TVs behind me. And no matter how bad I'd like to get rid of them on this show, sometimes you just can't get rid of certain things. Kyle Whittingham, not one of those certain things. You wanted that 85-inch TV out of the room for years, and now you finally moved it out. And it said, I don't want to go to the basement. You can't put me in the basement. I'm going to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
What a segue.
This is one of the weirdest head coaching carousel situations I've ever seen in college football.
Really? With all the crap we've seen this year? So to me, this isn't that crazy.
He
what's happening with
didn't
Kyle Whittingham.
hold a knife to his neck and threaten his mistress. I will give you that. And his stripper wife's monkey did not attack a neighbor. So
pole assassin, baby. Pole assassin.
People forget pole assassin. I will give you that, JT. Yes.
Okay, this whole thing with Kyle Whittingham, the only thing I will say is if this happened, it's Michigan, right? Like there's going to be some interest in what is one of the top 10 jobs in the country. To me, it's not that crazy to want to leave Utah and go to a Michigan, especially when you spent.
They kicked him out.
Hey, hold on.
They didn't kick him out.
JT. When you make coaching transitions, typically it's not a Friday news dump to announce your head coach is stepping down, not actually retiring, stepping down, and then Saturday to announce it via another press release in a Saturday news dump to announce the ascension of your defensive coordinator. They haven't had a formal press conference for any of this, JT. That tells me that not everything's hunky-dory in Salt Lake City with these two.
I think that's fair. I think it's fair to say everything's not hunky-dory, but I'll also say this, right? Like Kyle Whittingham was supposed to step down last year, wanted to come back, have one more strong season, was able to have that, and then, hey, ride off into the sunset. But as he was riding off into the sunset, one of the top 10 jobs in the sport is currently open right now.
He just told us he doesn't want to ride off into the sunset. He's not ready for that ride. He wants to continue coaching. Utah wouldn't let him. They were ready for the next regime. They were ready for Morgan Scalley. This is like they looked at the legend and said, we're good.
We've seen this before. This isn't an uncommon thing. I think it's not very often that it happens when there's nothing else happening in a way. Like Michigan obviously happened right before, but Utah was kind of like central to the conversation. I remember when I covered Stanford, they gave David Shaw the same sort of option at the end there because it was like 3-9, 3-9, 3-9. It's like, David, we love you and you're the most winningest coach in program history, but this isn't great. So you either get your dignity and say you could quit or step away, which I think they gave Kyle Whittingham, and I think he deserved that sort of treatment. Or we could fire you and obviously be unceremonious. But
we're not going to fire him. I will say that.
Right. No.
Jake, no way. You think they would have fired him, Jake? Yeah.
Well, no, but like they definitely showed him the door and were like, please exit stage left.
Where I would push back a bit here, Borba, what makes it different is Whittingham set his own timeline. He effectively told the administration, he was like 2024, baby, Morgan, and it could have been earlier because Scalley sent some racial things in a text message, and so Scalley couldn't be the head coach in waiting. Whittingham may have actually held on for a couple years extra, and then the administration said, "Oh, remember when you told us you were retiring in 2024? Do it." And he said, "1 more year," and they gave him 1 more year. Then they get to the end of this year, like, "All right, it's time, right? You told us it's time," and he looks like 1 more year.
He gave them the 65 timeline, JT. I think we talked about that when that first happened, me and you, and I was like, why would he do that? Because it's like now that's gonna be a storyline up until that moment, and he's 66 right now, so he outlived his timeline.
And I can insert a little bit on that. His dad passed away at the age of 64, Fred Sr., who obviously had a really outsized impact on his life, and that's why he often talked about wanting to step aside like 64, 65 years old, because he understood that his dad really never got an opportunity to be a true grandpa. He was a coach till the very end and ultimately passed, and that. So I think that's why he put that timeline out there. But as I have often observed with these coaches, the closer those deadlines come, and if you still got your energy, you still got your health, you still feel like you've got it, it's hard to step away. And money, sure, that absolutely.
Michigan money. I mean, he could tell those grandkids like, hey, You want a nicer Christmas this year or next year?
And the other thing about the Kyle Whittingham situation is he's been very proud that his kids got to go to the same elementary, junior high, and high schools all throughout growing up, which doesn't happen in the coaching industry. Well, now that his kids are all grown, he's got grandkids and the like, this may be the time for him to, uproot from Utah and maybe try going to Ann Arbor and seeing what he could do with Michigan, because he has aspirations of continuing to do something, it feels like, in the game of football, and leading the Michigan Wolverines would be awesome.
That's weird. I'm reading a headline from 2014. Kyle Whittingham is in Ann Arbor and in conversations for the Michigan job. This wouldn't be the first time he's talked to Michigan. What is the future for Kyle Whittingham? That's coming up right here on the Dose Grande Squad. Today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. I've been hanging out with Coach Gary Patterson way too much here recently. He's using the words Riz and Aura. And if you want to truly master Aura, whatever that means, I'm sure he can explain it on College Football Kickoff, then Aura Frames is the way to go. Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You preload this frame with photos before you gift it, so when it's plugged in by a loved one, memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, that's who this is for. Endless uploads of pictures and 30-second videos through the Aura app as well. For limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter. auraframes.com, promo code COLLEGE is that promo code for $35 off. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. Order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Aura Frames. It is Jake Hatch, JT Wistercell, Kevin Borba, Drake Toll with you of Locked On Big 12. Okay, JT, what is then, if you had to call your shot, the future of Kyle Whittingham?
I think he's probably going to end up in like an NFL advisory type of role. I think it would actually make a lot of sense for him and Michigan for 1 year to come to an agreement on something, because I just think from Michigan's standpoint, they are trying.
Why would they only do it 1 year? I mean, you think about it, like Willie Fritz is the same age as Kyle Whittingham. Willie Fritz is actually a year older right now, a hair older. Like, why not just hold on to Whittingham? Like Saban was 71, 72 at time of retirement. Michigan could milk this for 4 or 5 years.
I still don't think Kyle Whittingham, I'll say it this way, I don't think Kyle Whittingham is all in on a multi-year rebuild, doing everything it takes in today's.
No, they're 9-3.
It's not, maybe not a rebuild, that's fair, but what it takes to run a college football program every single day, especially when you don't have something in place like he had at Utah. That he had there was a lot of things going on to help him at Utah that I don't think he'd have multiple years at Michigan. I think he'd have to do more there. They would expect more from him there, because he is Utah football in Utah. He is not Michigan football. If he walks in there, the reporters, the city with that team, with that program he didn't build that. He walks into that. So, but for 1 year, like, it doesn't get better for a Band-Aid head coach than Kyle Whittingham. So that's why I think it would be a good 1 year deal thing. I don't look at Kyle Whittingham and go, he wants to do this another 4 years. I still don't really. I think he's still running. I think he is running out of juice a little bit. He had all the juice this past season, but I don't feel like he is like, okay, I want to do this for 10 more years and I want to dig in. There has been changes to college football that I still don't think he's loved and that worked in his favor at Utah that I don't think he'd get the benefit of at Michigan right now. So I think it's more likely he's an NFL advisor than head coach of a college football team, even though I think Michigan should hire him for 1 year.
To support JT a little bit here, Jake, I do think Kyle Whittingham in July is much different than Kyle Whittingham in December. Sure. When you get done with your last game, you're like, no, I want it back. And then come July again, when you've been through spring and you've been through the transfer portal twice, you're saying what he was saying at Big 12 Media Days last year, just like, I'm tired. I was ready, and then I took another year. Jake, if he did take a Michigan job, I'm gonna use your KSL card here. If he took a Michigan job, how much of the staff would go with him? Like, are they tied to Morgan Scalley, or do they love Uncle Whit?
There's a split, honestly, and that's the thing about this. You'd probably see, I could think of guys like, just off the top of my head, look at their offensive line coach in particular. Names escaping me all of a sudden. Jim Harding. Jim Harding's been a Kyle guy, so I would imagine that Jim would go with him. Sharif Shaw, who's been the cornerbacks coach and special teams coordinator, he's a Kyle Whittingham disciple. I think you'd see that squad essentially split. And speaking of the coaching staff, but to your point, if he is feeling like, hey, maybe I'm not up for running a program, well, here's his new title: special assistant to the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, helping his old buddy Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm. I think, by the way, really quick, that would be very dangerous in my opinion. If Michigan brought in Witt and said, clean house with this staff, like get rid of Wink Martindale, get rid of the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Michigan would keep Bryce Underwood, and he is the most important player associated with that university. If I'm Michigan, I would almost just want to bring, the money. Who doesn't have money? Right? Who doesn't have money?
But Michigan's up there.
They are.
Up there.
Larry Ellison is the second richest person in the world. So
exactly.
If he believes in Kyle Whittingham, though, that's the important part. Is does he believe in Kyle Whittingham enough to give him that money?
And who doesn't say that maybe a Jason Beck goes with him to Michigan, and that maybe entice Bryce Underwood to stick around?
Oh, that's a great point. We and by the time this show drops, we're recording on Tuesday night, Kenny Dillingham could already be on the plane. We could be talking about Whittingham with.
Why does he keep crying? Why does he keep crying? That's what I need to know.
He keeps crying a lot, and when they asked him at his press conference on Tuesday if he was going to make the move, he was like, "I don't know. I'm thinking about me. I'm thinking about my family. I'm thinking about my kids. Thinking about the staff. Thinking about everybody. I'm thinking about it. Like he did not.
The only person who could do Kenny Dillingham a favor is Jed Fish. If Jed Fish accepts the job before Kenny Dillingham, like they say they gave him an ultimatum, and it's like, hey, Kenny, accept the job by tomorrow. Yeah. And Jed Fish is willing to pull the trigger sooner. That may help Kenny Dillingham stop crying, because every interview I see of him, he's in tears, being short with reporters, going, I'm doing what's best for the people around me. And it's like, okay, you're clearly talking yourself into taking this, right?
And what's so cool, I think people forget often that the staff is what makes this. If your OC, your DC, your O-line coach, wide receivers coach don't want to go with you, it makes the decision much different. Gary Patterson's talked about this behind the scenes and on our show. He's like, man, there were 7 or 8 times where big school offers in the SEC and they want to give millions more dollars. I look around the room, I say, do we want to do this? Do your families want to do this? Is this the right spot? And not once was there a consensus that the room wanted to go. And because of that, he stayed at TCU despite bigger offers. That there's a piece of that for Witt. If Witt could get half his staff to go somewhere, maybe he rebuilds at a different spot for 3 or 4 years. But if he can't hatch anybody, then I don't think there's any way to do that.
And that's the point I think you point out, because JT, you're right. You don't dump Wink Martindale and some of the guys who have been there at Michigan, because it's not a rebuild. Essentially, it's a they were 9-3 this year. You have a stud young quarterback in Bryce Underwood who's going to have all kinds of offers from other programs to try and entice him to leave. But to Kevin's point, could you go there, get in good camaraderie with a guy like Larry Ellison and say, hey, Larry, give me 3 or 4 years, give me the funds to do what we need to do to build this up, and let's chase the national title? Because I know that Kyle Whittingham, he wants to win. He wants to win at a high level, and Michigan truly could offer that opportunity to chase a national title that he absolutely, I think, in his heart of hearts, wants to pursue.
Also, is Kyle Whittingham a Michigan man? And I don't mean the scandals.
I think so more than
he likes to do things his way. He likes to sort of not manipulate the media, but he's very blunt, right? He likes to not do things a certain way. Will that fly at Michigan if he doesn't immediately succeed?
Isn't this Jim Harbaugh? Like, isn't that Jim Harbaugh's style, man? Like, I know
quirky and more khakis, though, Jake. It's different. Kyle Whittingham has no quirk. He has no quirk.
I think Kyle Whittingham is more of a Michigan man than any other candidate. I'm curious what you guys think. I know this isn't Locked On Michigan. I don't think Kenny Dillingham would work there, and I think he's a fantastic coach. I don't think Jed Fish would work there. I think any of those coaches get that job, I think they'll be out in 3 years, because that also, I'm just going to say something. Michigan is like the second most miserable fan base in college football, only behind Alabama. They keep chasing something like every single year. We need to win a national title, and it's unhealthy. So, Drake, you feeling the same way about Dillingham?
Yeah, I see Rich Rodriguez in Kenny Dillingham. The young, fiery, big motivator who Michigan fans are like, oh, we got the guy from the little school that's winning at the little school. And then he goes there, and you just immediately fall flat on your face and they hate you. And then your hometown hates you. And then 15 years later, you come back.
And you're Jonathan Smith.
Okay, fair. Kenny Dillingham has pointed out that he lives on the same street as his parents, his in-laws, his sister. He does not want to uproot from Tempe, but I think as Borba pointed out, Drake, I think it's you. He's trying to talk himself into taking this job. But if you're trying to talk yourself into taking the job, that's not the right motivation.
Yeah. That means they're offering a lot more money and resources than ASU can match, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but he wants ASU to pony up because ASU's in his blood.
Mm-hmm. Will my friend Deion Sanders be on the sidelines next year? That's a good question. Locked On Big 12. Borba can answer it. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is exactly where I go every single day during the NFL season, college basketball season, college football season, bowl season, all of it. FanDuel is my spot. especially for live bets. Because let's say that I'm watching the big game and the Panthers are losing by 7 to the Saints. I keep thinking, I know the Panthers are better than the Saints and they're going to find a way to come back and win this game. But right now I can get them at plus 125 to win the game. What that means, I put $100 on the Panthers to win. I get $125 when they do come back and they do win. And live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up as well. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you with FanDuel. Kevin Borba, JT Westersill, and Jake Hatch. Borba, Deion Sanders survived cancer in the offseason and has done more for Colorado than any head coach has done for its program the last 3 years. Now, you can push back on that all you want, but I'm talking about GDP. I'm not talking about wins and losses and championships and rings. I'm talking about revamping and growing a city. Boulder is better because of what Deion's done. The money being there, he could lose for the next 10 years, and they would leave him in place because he is the cash cow for what Colorado needs right now. That said, why would he keep doing it? Why has he not retired yet as of hopefully we're recording Tuesday. As of Tuesday, December 16th, why is he not retired yet?
Yeah, I think there's a couple reasons. For one, he has a legacy to uphold. And I don't think a lot of people around college football or football in general really agree with me on this, and that's totally fine. But Deion Sanders is very proud of the legacy he leads in the NFL and the MLB. He is very proud of it. And I think he wants to leave Colorado in a place where they want to build him a statue. I think he wants that. Now, whether or not his health will let him get there, I don't know. But I do think his hiring of Brennan Marion shows that he's fully invested, right? I don't think you hire away one of the best offensive minds in college football if you're not invested. So I think he cares about his legacy. And two, I think so many people forget what it's like. And I'm not a parent, so I don't get this. But whenever you moved out and your parents were sad, I'm an only child, so I guess I do get this. My parents were crushed. Like, his kids have moved out for the most part. Deion Jr. is still in Boulder with him. But his daughter is playing basketball, I forget where, at another college. Shador's in the NFL, and then Shiloh is in Miami making videos, and he's a content creator now, right? Mm-hmm. He has an empty nest, right? There is no point in him just like stepping away from coaching just because of it. I think the only real thing that I worried about from a Colorado perspective was him trying to get an NFL job with Shador, but that obviously was not going to matriculate as much as people thought it was. So he has a chance to build a legacy in a different way. And I think he really does value helping the next generation of athletes. And I think he's fully invested in this program.
So, Kevin, I have thought that him bringing Brennan Marion in is his escape route if and when he needs to step aside. Is because Brennan looks like a guy who's on he's ascending up because he's Sacramento State's head coach. You mentioned he's one of the more bright offensive minds across college football right now with that go-go offense. Does it feel like it could be a 1 or 2 year plan? And if he needs to step aside, you just hand it off to Brennan Marion, excuse me?
Yeah, I'm not naive. I've said the same thing on my show. Brennan Marion's contract is for 2 years. I think Deion signed a 5-year extension last year, so that puts him at he'd have like 1 or 2 years left on his deal anyway. So I do think there's a sort of coach in waiting sort of aspect to this, right? Like the Will Muschamp at Texas, and then Morgan Scalley at Utah. Like there's a lot of those similar vibes, and I do think that's a great plan to have, honestly, right? If you're Deion Sanders, knowing you took this program wherever you took it, I think it's in a better place than when he found it. Regardless of the record. And you don't think so, JT?
No, I said, yeah, like without a doubt. Like I was like, you even brought that up. Like Drake was the one who brought up right off the start. He's done more than anyone else. I was like,
sorry. I was ready to jump on you. I was ready to attack you. But he led this program in a better place, and then solidifying a prominent head coach, because that's sort of the fear for Colorado is whenever like this year, people are like, put him on the hot seat. It's like, okay, who's better? Like, who are you going to go that's going to bring energy and turn this program around? Who's better than Deion Sanders right now? The answer is there's not really anyone, right? So having someone who could be that person ready and waiting and invested in this program, I think is a huge deal.
Can we just tell Warren Sapp to not rip Texas high school football from now on social media?
I just recorded my episode for Wednesday with Brian Smith. I think that is the dumbest thing you could have done because of the optics, right? I think we talked about how Deion Sanders beat cancer. We talked about his sons going to the NFL. People use everything in the book to negative recruit against Deion Sanders. And Warren Sapp just like served up on a silver platter, like, please use this. We said Texas high school football sucks. Like, everyone's like, there's always this competition. I get it. I'm from California. I say we are better than every single state ever. That doesn't mean you tweet it as a coach of a college football program.
Is this what happens when he can't take out the pylons?
I guess. And the worst part, Jake, is they offered the kid that he was tweeting about 2 days prior.
I know. It's baffling. Like, why in your right mind would you rip a base that, because Colorado for years has made hay in the Lone Star State in terms of bringing talent to Boulder from Texas. You just absolutely crippled those abilities to do that with that one tweet.
And Texas people can get mad at me too, especially now that they know I'm from California. Their high school coaches are some of the most sensitive people on the planet. They hold a grudge like no other. I played
high school football in Texas. I'm going to defend some.
Whoa, Joey McGuire's not going to like that.
They hold grudges like nobody's business, though. If they feel a coach has disrespected them, they will purposely not allow recruits or not help recruits go to that school. True or false?
Fair. I feel like we see that everywhere in the sport. I'm just going to say that.
No one does it more than the state of Texas, though. They are so prideful.
Borba's got a point. Borba's got a really good point there.
He does have a good point there.
Be petty there. Hey, really quick.
Is maybe the wrong word, but prideful or protective. How about that?
Is Deion Sanders not going to be the next head coach at Florida State next year? Like when Mike Norvell gets fired a year from now because it's not working, they won't go with the legacy hire, the guy who
he wanted it. He wanted it before Jackson State, and they didn't give it to him. And now he claims his alma mater is, I think, was it Talladega University or Talladega College? He doesn't claim Florida State as much. So
what about the chance to win? Like, I feel like people have short memories of some stuff. You all don't think so? No.
Talladega.
Yeah, I think it goes back to Borba's point. He knows his legacy is obviously what it is, and he wants to keep that intact. If he goes back to Florida State and fails, that's a big old stain on that legacy. So I think that ship has passed.
Florida State's a hard program to succeed at. Like, let's be real.
He's a goat of so many things, right? He's a goat for basketball, for football, for what he did with baseball in a lot of ways. He's not of coaching right now. If he could get to a place like Florida State, he'd have a chance to enter that if he could make a college football playoff, which we haven't seen a prominent former player do, right?
To be fair, Ryan Day did win a national championship, proving anyone in the world could probably find a way with the right roster to limp to a national championship. As the number 8 team in the country, by the way. I made this, we can wrap with this. I made this point in Locked On Big 12 this week. It has become, March Madness is an invitational.
Yeah.
We are inviting teams into March Madness to compete for a national championship. College football is becoming that. The number 8 team in the country won the national title last year. They wouldn't have sniffed it in the BCS, the 14 playoff. Is Ohio State the best team in the country? Maybe not. But they're the best suited for a tournament style of play.
Which makes me chuckle that Joel Klatt ripped on March Madness.
Me to it.
He did.
So bad.
He hates Cinderella. Isn't Colorado kind of a Cinderella story?
Exactly.
And he loved it when it was Colorado and they were doing good. So Joel Klatt, I don't know who peed in his Cheerios that morning, but
on the same day that Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart come after ESPN for having to sneak the college football playoff, they're like, Fox, the good guy, and Joel Klatt's like, I hate football.
This just in, Joel Klatt to ESPN, and whenever his contract's up, is he laying the groundwork? He's like, I will push your propaganda if
he dumps on ESPN, but like we said, I mean, media time heals all wounds, right? I mean, we see Charles Barkley's gone at ESPN for years, right? And we know
Charles Barkley is the most fearless man in America, though, when it comes to stuff like that. He does not care.
No, he does not.
Those ladies down in San Antonio, no doubt. He's
eating them churros like they do.
He's good at it. That's Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs, Jake Hatch of Locked On BYU Cougars, JT Wisterso of Locked On Utes, Drake Toll with you of Locked On Big 12. This has been and always will be. If you hit subscribe, we get to keep our jobs locked on. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. The No Say Grande Squad.